Hello viewers, you're welcome to this tutorial. Now in this session we are learning the types of arguments we can have in our Python code. Okay, in relation to the function we are learning, there are two types of arguments we can have. The first argument is called a positional argument. The second argument is called the keyword argument. I will come back to this just in this tutorial, okay, so you don't have any problem. So let's go with the first two we have. The first one is called positional argument. The second one is called keyword argument. Okay, so what is a positional argument? I have two variables outside my function. I've assigned them to my function call, and also I've assigned variables or arguments are waiting to receive these values. Okay, so these are the two and I display them here. Okay, so this is a type of positional argument. Positional argument necessarily means that the first value here is assigned to this value. Okay, is basically dealing with positions. Okay, it's dealing with the position of the values. So if I change this one to great value and I change the display as well to great value, it will definitely work. If I display, you see 8 and 9. Okay, so 8 will be passed to this 8 and this 8 will be passed to this 8, and we have 8 and 9. So positional arguments do not look at names. They don't use names to identify themselves. Okay, they do not use names. They just use the position. So this is at the first position when I declare the function. This is at the first position when I call the function. This is at the second position. This is at the second position. So it just assigns value with respect to positions. Okay, so if I change this value, let me change it back, make it first value. If I change here, make it 3, and I change here and make it 9 or maybe 7, it works the same way. Okay, if I run this code, 3 and 7, so 3 is assigned to the first position because 3 is at the first position. 7 is assigned to the second position because 7 is also at the second position. So this is what you need to know about positional values. Okay, and you realize it's not using this first value and second value here. I said earlier that functions prioritize the names of their argument rather than any name outside their code. Okay, so it's not printing this, it's rather printing 3 and 7 when I try to run the code. Just look at it. Okay, all right, so this is what basically happens, that this is positional argument. So I just put values here and assign them with respect to positions. So if I have values and I want to assign them with positions, I just declare variables here, okay, or argument to wait for these values. Either I can use a variable or a mere value and pass it over to my variables or arguments I have here. So this is positional argument. Now what is the keyword argument? Okay, let's jump into it. So keyword argument is when I predefine a value here. So let me kind of clean all these ones. Let me wipe this off, comment them so they become not seen by the code. Okay, let me put it that way, that is clearer. So anytime you comment a code, they are not being used. All right, so let's just jump into it. So let me clean this one. All right, so keyword arguments are actually arguments which I first define here, and keyword arguments do not use positions, they use names. Okay, get it well. So I have first value, and keyword arguments are very useful and necessary because with positional argument you might not know if this is the first one, this is the second one. Okay, but keyword argument, there is a first value I'm expecting and there is a second value I'm expecting. So what I'm doing actually when I'm calling the function is I say first value equals, so you see, so Python itself gives me the intelligence, first value equals, and I have to begin to type and say, okay, first value equals 9 or maybe 10, and comma second value equals 12. You now see the difference. So keyword argument uses names. So let me try to tweak it, let me try to trick it, not tweak it. Okay, let's jump into it. So I have second value first and I have 10, and I have first value first and I have 20. You see, if it was to be the positional argument, second value will be assigned to what? First value, which you already know, and first value will be assigned to second value because it's dealing with positions. But if I run this code, first value is 20 and 20 was declared last. Okay, declared last. So what this actually means is positional argument uses positions, keyword argument uses names. So it is so necessary. For me, I prefer you to use keyword argument. So what you have to do with, and one other advantage of this is when we're dealing with a positional argument, if you realize, let me just give something little so you know how it works. Okay, let me say value 1 equals 4 and value 2 equals 6. Okay, and I have another positional function here. That's a positional function. I'm declaring a function called another calculation. Okay, another calc. I don't want to type much, and I have okay, this, so I have print value 1. Okay, print value 1, and I have print value 2. Okay, and I call this another CAG. So I call the function and I assign positional values. Just check it out. 1, and I have value 2. Okay, then I have to bring them here. Value 1 and also value 2. Okay, so check this out. I don't want to begin to write several variables. This one really helps. Keyword arguments are very necessary if you don't want to just be declaring so many variables. In the previous tutorials, I made mention of them, that the reason why I would not like to change this variable is because I don't want to have several variables. I just want the receiving variable to be the same as this variable I have here. But even if I do it, Python is trying to prompt me that it shadows the name outside, so they're advising you to change it. If you don't change it, your code will still work. Okay, but if you change it, it kind of makes it good for Python. But with keyword argument, you first have to declare the variable here or the argument here, then use the same name here, then assign the value to it. It makes your code simple and you don't have to be declaring new variables. All you need to do is have the variable here. Okay, so if I clean this code, check something out right now. If I clean this code, I can say second value is equals value 1. I know you guys have not understood what I'm trying to do. And first value equals, oh no, I think I misplaced it. This should be value 1 and this should be value 2. Okay, so this is how keyword argument works. So powerful. So positional arguments are necessary when you just want to pass variables by positions or pass values or argument by positions. But I would prefer you to use keyword arguments. It will prevent you from declaring new variables. Python will be good for what you're doing, and anytime you are calling your function, you know the variable names you've used here. Okay, so just go like, okay, in my Python code, in the function calculation, I have second value and I assign it to this, and I have first value and assign it to whatever I want to assign it to, rather than just putting this within the function. So these are the two kinds of arguments we have, positional argument and keyword argument. Each one of them has what it can do and every other thing. They all do basically the same task, okay, but how you call them is different. So this is what a positional a keyword argument looks like. Okay, just waiting for your values. And so this is what we'll be doing for this tutorial, knowing that if you want to use a keyword argument, first declare the name here, bring the name, bring an equal sign, and any value you want to assign to it, it will be passed to the name. Okay, and do the same thing. But positional argument, it will be with respect to positions. So these are some of the things which will be knowing in our code, and knowing which one to use, which one not to use, in order for it to be preferable. Now there is a final thing I want to make mention of. You cannot bring this. Let me give you this one. Check this out. Now this is a non-default argument and this is a default argument. That's what I want to explain right now. So what happens is, before I explain that one, check this. In keyword and positional argument, you cannot bring a keyword argument first before a positional argument. Okay, so just look at what happens here. If I try to bring a value called 4 and I want to put 4 in a value, okay, it will give me an error. Now positional argument follows keyword argument, meaning they are trying to say I have a positional argument following keyword argument. It's not possible. Alright, so what you should do is bring your positional argument first before you bring your keyword argument. Okay, so 4, then you bring this keyword argument. Then more importantly, you have to bring this one as well first. Okay, so if I try to run this code for you, check what happens. It's also giving error, multiple blah blah, is giving so many errors. So what I have to do is this, bring this here. So the receiver of the positional argument, I bring it right in front and it receives its value, then we are good to go. Do you get it? So be careful if you want to mix them. So positional argument comes first before keyword argument, so that this positional argument will receive by its position and the keyword argument will just run through with their names and other stuff. So you see I have the same thing. So if I try to print value here, I try to print value, I kind of have my 4 here, which because this is 4. If I change it to 8, I have my 8 there. Also, so this is the basic thing we have to know with respect to types of argument we can have. And what I wanted to talk about with this, okay, non-default argument and default argument, I think I have to explain it in the next tutorial. So just check out for the next tutorial. I wanted to explain it here, but it will be something so little. Okay, I just want to do this tutorial under a few minutes, then I'll explain the next one. So just check it out. It is right available. Subscribe to the channel if you have not liked the video, if they are good for you, and ring the bell. Thank you.